Let's begin the class. This is the fourth chapter about Weber, transition to industrialism, rationalization. As you expected, the key concept in this chapter is rationalization. And to talk to the Weber's historical problems and what rationalization, rationality means. Among the sociologists and students majoring in sociology, we usually use the term rationality, rationalization, or rationalism. But when I have chances to ask them their version, their meaning of rationalization, rationality, and rationalism, almost no one has a precise concept of that. So today I will. It's so not that difficult, but somewhat confusing. So let's make it clear. After this class, I want all of you have some clear vision of this concept: rationalization, rationality, and rationalism. I told you several times, when you compare Weber's version of capitalism with that of Marx, when you compare Durkheim's version of modern society with that of Marx and Weber, there are clear cleavages. There are some gulf between Durkheim and Marx and Weber. But between Marx and Weber, not between Durkheim and Weber and Durkheim and Marx, there are some there are gulf. But when you compare Marx and Weber, the common sense is Weber's version of capitalism is very different from that of Marx. But as this author, Perry Abrams, said, page 82, Weber's historical problem. For Weber, quote, the characteristic uniqueness of the reality, unquote, in which he moved was, as it had been for Marx, caught in the notion of capitalism rather than in the broader and vaguer idea of industrialism. So although the title is from the transition to industrialism, Abrams, he preferred capitalism in describing Weber's approaches. Weber, he also agreed with Marx, as several writers have pointed out in his account of the main socio-economic characteristics of capitalism. So Marx and Weber shares much more consensus than the differences. But his distinctive sense of the task of sociological analysis led him to take up for particular examination just that dimension of the rise of capitalism, which Marx had tended to ignore, to focus his attention on the ways in which the activities that were conducive to the rise of capitalism came to be positively meaningful to some particular people in some particular historical circumstances. The rise of capitalism, the rise. Weber paid his attention to this phase, not the structure or the working, the functioning of capitalism, but the rise. That means he tried to pose the capitalist system not as a general or just a historical system. He tried to put it in historical process. How he challenged the Marxist thesis is that page 83, line 3 from above. For Weber, the mere availability of capital and labor power, necessary as both were as preconditions for capitalism, could not in itself explain the actual growth of capitalism into a dominant economic and cultural order. So when it comes down to the characteristics of capitalism, Weber agreed with Marx almost all aspects of the main features of capitalism, but the main focus is different. Marx ignores the rise of capitalism. He ignored that aspect, the historical process, how capitalist system was made, was formed, was rising from the feudal or pre-capitalist mode of production. But Weber pay attention to that rise of capitalism. It has, it really is very significant nowadays, not only in Korea, South Korea, but also in China. When I look back on the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, in Asian world, this Northeast Asia, only Japan got developed. So most of the Western sociologists, social scientists in the English-speaking world, is especially, they pay attention to the uniqueness of Japanese social structure before it is transitioned to capitalist system. So their main argument is, although Japan is located in Northeast Asia, Japanese social system, even before the modern era, before the capitalist system was introduced, the social structure is almost the same as the Western societies. So that's the typical way of arguing. If some foreigners, some winners came from underdog, they try to describe that guy or that competitor as if, even though, for example, Kim Yeona, the figure skater in Korea, they try to argue that even Kim Yeona, the gold medalist in the Winter Olympic, they try to pick Kim Yeona, even though her nationality is Korea, but her body, size and her technique is not Korean. It's kind of Canadian or American. So she could get that gold medal. Although Kim Yeona's nationality is Korean, there is no denying of that. But not because she is a Korean, but because her body condition and her technique has nothing to do with Korea. That made her to become the figure champion. That's the kind of argument. The so-called Kim Yeona, exceptionalism. Kim Yeona belongs to Korean nationality, but her skill, her body condition is not the average Korean. So that means, although Japan is located in Asia, outside the European continent, but the Japan's social structure is almost the same as the European countries. That's the main argument, the dominant argument during 1960s and 70s. And there comes the so-called the four mini dragons: South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Singapore. Although from Chinese point of view, even Taiwan and Hong Kong returned to China several years ago, more than 10 years ago. When is that? 1990? 90 something? 1997. So Hong Kong is no more a country. Singapore is the city country. So only South Korea could be called the NICs, newly industrializing countries. NICs. In Western countries, the main sociological and the social scientific approaches, their argument somewhat modified, somewhat changed. How could South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, and Hong Kong could be developed? They joined the capitalist world system. They transformed their social system, just like Japan and Western advanced industrial countries. That's the way they can develop capitalist system in their own country. So from 1970s and 80s, the Japanese model, the Westerners, they come to understand the next phenomena according to the experience of the Japan in the early 20th centuries and until the 1960s. But now, after the open of the Chinese economy to world economy, the reform process initiated by Deng Xiaoping in 1978, there comes the big dragon, not mini dragon. The big dragon flies. So nowadays, the scholars in not only in Western countries but also in Asian countries, they try to rewrite our history, not just economic history but political and cultural and international history. It was not destined to do that. But today I want to focus on the Weber's approaches. Weber got dead 2021? Weber got dead before the Second World War. But I want to focus on the Weber's insight. Why Weber tried to focus on the rise, not the structure or functioning of capitalism, but the rise of capitalism. Weber's goes like this. Line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was essentially necessary to understand why those resources were given significance and used in early modern Europe in ways in which they had not been elsewhere. This is very comparative question. Why in Europe, not anywhere? The sociological problem of the rise of capitalism was especially to identify the meanings that enabled people to make something on a massively and socially faithful scale of the resources available to them. When you just stop at the Marxian approaches, they don't pay attention to the rise because they have that assumptions. If there were capital and labor power, anyway, there came some kind of system, the capitalist system. When the capitalist system began to function, you just forget how it started to function. Just like that, you know, when you learn how to work, when you watch the babies, your nephew or niece, when they try to work, they had some stumblings and they have some failure, the several attempts, but at last they succeeded in standing and working. When they began to work, they never fail. They never forget how to work. See? After you can ride a bicycle, after you learn how to drive the car, it's usually you cannot easily forget how to drive the bicycle or ride the bicycle or drive the car. So when the capitalist system began to function, for Marxist point of view, you don't have to pay much attention to the rise, the origin of the capitalist system. It's already there. It's working. It's functioning. So all you have to do is how the capitalist system drove the classes into a different terrain, and they got struggles over the social order. And when it comes to the revolution or the justice suppressed, that's the point. But Weber, he is a comparative sociological historical sociologist. So his question is somewhat very different and distinctive compared to Marxist approaches. He pay attention to why the capitalist system, capitalism, arise in Europe, not other region of the world, especially in Asia. Until the end of 1970s, many scholars are arguing that why there are no capitalism in China. What's the answer? What's the common answer? Why there is no capitalist system in China and Soviet Union in 1970s? Any answers from Chinese student? Why there are no capitalist system, no capitalism in China until 1970? Until 1970s, why there are no capitalism in China? By the way, I ask you, what's the official version in China? Still, the government are arguing that socialism in Chinese character. Is that the official version of your system? Any answers? The intention of my question is this: capitalism is not just economic system. In Soviet Union and China before the Reform Initiative in 1978, they identified themselves as a socialist system. Even though there was some trade with the capitalist countries, they cannot identify themselves as capitalist system, capitalism. So I think still Russia and China, I think scholars, they try to redefine the system, but the official definition is somewhat different. Yeah, I wanted to say the Weber's view of modern society is very different from Marxist view, Marx himself's view, in that Marx defined capitalism first of all as an economic system, but Weber disagreed with him. Why? As I explained last week, the Weber's focus, his intention is somewhat different. He focused on the meaning of the actors in the society. For example, if you want to earn money, I think each and every one of my students in Korea and in China, I think you guys want to earn much money. There's no doubt about that. But when I ask you, why do you want to accumulate? Why do you want to earn money? I think the end, the goals of accumulating the earning money is very different. That's the meaning. Mediating the action to accumulate money, capital. From Marxist point of view, they just ignore. They don't have any interest in why do the actors try to earn money. That's just beyond their question. They don't want to pay any attention to that aspect of social life. But Weber, his methodology and his major concern is the meaning. Why people behave just like that? What kind of value, what kind of meaning do they share, do they pursue? That's the central question in Weberian sociology. So Marx and Marxists, they ignore the rise of capitalism and the spirit of capitalism. Weber has much interest in that aspect. Why there arose a capitalist system in European countries, but not other continent? the middle. Much of Weber's work accordingly pursues a problem noted but never fully explored by Marx. That is, that of the failure of capitalism to develop outside modern Western Europe, despite the frequent existence of many of the structural and material conditions for it. It's for sure, when you try to define capitalism as a system, capitalists dominate. There are capital and wage laborers, and if there are mega wealth, riches out there, they accumulate lots of money, just a huge amount of money. You can call them capitalist, and you can call the system as capitalist system. But outside European continent, all the rich people and the rich societies, they just deceased. They cannot make themselves as a kind of a system, modern system, existing, persisting. So Weber tried to pay attention to that historical and comparative aspect of the capitalism. So exploring the problem of the rise of capitalism in Europe led Weber unavoidably to the problem of the failure of capitalism to mature in classical antiquity or India or China or Islam world. So do you understand the differences between Marx and Weber about approaching capitalism and capitalist system? Marx thinks of capitalism as a kind of economic system, economic structure, functioning. Weber thinks of capitalism as a kind of event and as a process. When you talk about the rise, you should compare it different areas. There are no rising at all. Or if you talk about the rise of capitalism, the capitalism will someday die or decease. That's the implication of Weber. Historical system, capitalism as a historical system. Weber's sense of the cultural significance of capitalism, the cultural significance of capitalism. Capitalism is not just an economic system, it's not just a social system. It has the cultural significance of capitalism, which provided the basis for his perspective in analyzing it. The cultural significance of capitalism was itself bound up with his more general understanding of the whole movement of modern history. From Marx's approaches, the essence of modern society is capitalism. When you come to understand the characteristics of capitalism, you come to understand more than 99% of the features of modern society. But from Weber's point of view, capitalism is just part of that modern society. It's not the most important, or it's not the most prevailing aspect of modern society. What is the key concept in Weberian approaches? Key concept. Here comes. For him, for Weber, modern society was above all a society pervaded by rationalism. For Weber, the key concept in modern society, modern history is not capitalism, but rationalism. I told you Marx's version of capitalism and Weber's version of capitalism is almost the same. The Western scholars try to oppose Weber with Marx. So they try to invent Weber, kind of bourgeois Marx or liberal Marx. But actually, when you have chances to read Marx's books and Weber's books, their conception, their understanding of capitalism is almost the same. But the big difference between Marx and Weber is, for Weber, capitalism is the essence of modern society. But from Weber's point of view, capitalism is just part of modern society. The all-encompassing, the higher version of a concept is, for Weber, is rationalism, not capitalism. That's a big difference. I ask you, how many of you have some military service here in this class? How many of you joined the military service? 1, 2, 3, 5, 4. More than 10. When you join the military, do you bring your own weapons with yourself? No. Nobody has any gun in your home, right? Marx told capitalists have capital. Landlords have land. Laborers has what? What do they have? Workers have. Capitalists own capital. Money. Landlords own land. Laborers, workers, what did they have? Labor power. Labor power. From Marxist point of view, the division, the have class having capital or land, or have not class having only their own labor power. That's the great division. Have class, don't have class. But from Weber's point of view, that's not just the mode of production. It's not confined to that mode of production. Mode of destruction. Think about that war during wartime. You join either as an officer or as a soldier. Either officer and soldier, they don't have their own weapons with them. It's the state, the central government, they distribute weapons to each officers and soldiers. That means from Weber's point of view, it's not just the means of production, but the means of destruction. That means the weapons. It was systematically divided. The people, the ordinary people, cannot bring the weapons with them. It was kept by the state. So it's not just the means of production that was separated from the workers. The weapons, it got separated from the soldiers. See? When you become a governmental official, what do you bring when you come to your own office? Do you bring all the documents and files with you? No, the documents were there, kept there. You cannot take that to your own home. So the separation from the producers, the real producers and the real workers, is not just the means of production, means of destruction, means of administration, all separated systematically. That's Weber's distinctive viewpoint. So from Weber's point of view, the separation of means of production, means of destruction, means of administration, means of education, it was separated. When you compare the modern capitalist society with the feudal or the pre-modern societies, usually, you kept your own weapons with you. Think about the sword and the spear. You take it with you. You have all the horses and cows with you, right? When you learn how to write and speak in Chinese language, you have your books and you have your own teachers very near from your own home. In your village, you have your own teachers, right? But after the modern era, in order to learn something, you have to go all the way to the modern school, elementary school, middle school, and high school. It's so far from your own home, your own village, right? It's separated. When you join the military service, you even leave your own home, your hometown, to all the way to some remote areas to defend your own country. And in order to earn some money, you have to leave your own home village. You have to go all the way to the city to have a job there. So from Weber's point of view, the capitalist society that becoming some urbanization and the industrialization, that's some part of the general process of rationalization. So rationalization and rationalism, that's the much higher comprehensive concept under which you can distribute capitalism. So capitalism is not the essence or the main features of modern society. Rationalism, rationalization is the key concept.